Welcome to our Hong Kong Brief Show, where we dive into the latest happenings and bring you the news in a nutshell. Let's start with a story that's making waves in the real estate world. China's property giant Vanke is on a mission to slash its debt by a whopping $14 billion as the industry faces mounting challenges. With sales and profits taking a nosedive, it seems like the property market in China is hitting a rough patch, and Vanke is not the only one feeling the heat. Fellow developer Country Garden is also in the spotlight, grappling with its own set of financial woes. It's a tough time for these property moguls, and it looks like they're battening down the hatches for a stormy season ahead. Switching gears to the corporate scene, Chinese firms are finding themselves in a bit of a pickle when it comes to raising funds through IPOs. Thanks to tighter regulations and a bit of a cold shoulder from international markets, these companies are facing a funding drought. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it, not much fun, and definitely not effective. This could spell trouble for China's economic recovery, as access to capital is as crucial as coffee on a Monday morning. And now, for something a bit more glamorous. Saks Fifth Avenue's flagship store in Manhattan has been appraised at a jaw-dropping $3.6 billion. That's right, billion with a B. It seems like luxury real estate is hotter than a summer in the Sahara, and Saks is looking to turn up the heat even more with plans to acquire rival Neiman Marcus. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, a UAE prince's family office is sharing space with a firm linked to Macau's casino operators, adding a dash of intrigue to the mix. So there you have it, folks, from real estate roller coasters to funding famines and luxury shopping showdowns, it's all happening. Stay tuned for more details on these stories. Please continue watching for more in-depth coverage. China's Vanke vows to cut debt by $14 billion as property woes mount. Financial Times. Chinese property developer Vanke has announced plans to reduce its debt by $14 billion following a significant drop in sales and profits. The company's net income fell by 46% to RMB 12.2 billion, $1.69 billion, in 2023, while its sales dropped by 53% year-on-year to RMB 14 billion in February. Fellow developer Country Garden, which defaulted on its international debts in October, has delayed the release of its annual results for 2023 and expects its shares to be suspended when trading resumes after Easter. Both companies have been impacted by a cash crunch in the sector that has affected construction and the wider economy in China. Chinese firms face funding drought for IPOs amid heavy scrutiny. Japan Times. Chinese companies are facing a shortage of new equity capital as stricter domestic IPO regulations and challenges in listing overseas hamper their ability to raise funds. China's securities watchdog has tightened scrutiny of IPOs this year, leading to a high number of companies canceling their domestic listing plans. Some companies have turned to offshore markets such as Hong Kong and New York, but increased scrutiny and geopolitical tensions are making it difficult for them to list overseas. This lack of access to capital could hinder China's economic recovery. Saks Fifth Avenue flagship appraised at $3.6 billion as it renews Neiman push. Bloomberg. The owners of Saks Fifth Avenue are reportedly seeking financing to increase their offer to buy rival luxury department store Neiman Marcus. As part of the financing efforts, Saks' flagship store in Manhattan has been appraised at $3.62 billion, a significant increase from its valuation of $1.6 billion in 2019. The increased valuation reflects the heightened demand for high-end real estate in the area, with other luxury brands recently purchasing properties in the vicinity. UAE prince's Hong Kong family office shares space with casino-linked firm. South China Morning Post. The proposed Hong Kong site for a Dubai prince's family office shares space with an investment firm linked to Macau's casino operators and where late billionaire Stanley Ho Hung Sun was a director until his 2020 death, the Post has found. After the last-minute postponement of the launch of 28-year-old Sheikh Ali Rashid Ali Saeed Al Maktoum's family office, scheduled for Thursday, the city government distanced itself from questions about his high-profile presence and his links to the Dubai ruler. Africa's Weekend Pictures, 22 to 28 March 2024. Yahoo! This article features a selection of photographs from across Africa and beyond. The photos capture various events and moments, including Sufi Muslims performing their famous whirling dance in Cairo, a street party during Ramadan in Egypt, iftar in a Somali refugee camp, paintings by Nigerian artist Babajide Olatunji at an art fair in Hong Kong, a portrait of Cameroonian singer-songwriter Irma Paney, the closing ceremony of the African Games in Ghana, the Hindu festival Holi in Nairobi, a World Rally Championship in Kenya, a friendly match between South Africa and Algeria, and fish caught in a Zimbabwean trader's net. The first Godzilla x Kong film was a surprise pandemic smash hit, but does the sequel live up to it? ABC. The article discusses the film Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, and criticizes it for lacking imagination and wonder. The film follows the relationship between King Kong and Godzilla, who must team up to defeat a common enemy. The article highlights the dullness of the film and its reliance on tired Hollywood spectacles. It suggests that the film's lack of originality and invention could lead to the rise of AI-generated films and the decline of traditional blockbuster movies. Paul's bank promised to keep an eye on his account while he invested in cryptocurrency. He still lost $480,000. ABC. An Australian man lost almost $500,000 in a cryptocurrency scam after being encouraged to invest by a woman he met online. The scammer, named Diana, convinced Paul, a retired police officer, to invest in cryptocurrency and introduced him to a fraudulent crypto wallet platform. Paul lost his life savings and was forced to take out a loan to pay off his house. He is now seeking compensation from ING Bank and Macquarie Bank, claiming that they failed to adequately warn him about the risks of cryptocurrency investment and did not raise concerns about the large amounts of money leaving his account. The case highlights the dangers of romance scams and cryptocurrency fraud. Scammers often exploit people's emotions, trust, and lack of knowledge about cryptocurrency to convince them to invest. In this case, Diana gained Paul's trust by sharing intimate details about her life and introducing him to her mother and uncle. She then encouraged him to invest in cryptocurrency through a fraudulent wallet platform that allowed her to withdraw his money. The incident also raises questions about the responsibility of banks in preventing fraud. ING Bank and Macquarie Bank have been accused of failing to recognize that Paul was a victim of a scam and not adequately warning him about the risks. The Consumer Action Law Center argues that banks should be more proactive in identifying and preventing scam transactions. Some banks have already restricted payments to high-risk cryptocurrency exchanges to help reduce the number of investment scams. It is recommended that individuals remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to their banks and the police. Hong Kong is becoming China in more ways than one. Bloomberg. Foreign businesses are concerned about the implications of Hong Kong's new security law, known as Article 23. The U.S. has expressed alarm at the law's vague wording, fearing that it could expose executives and finance professionals to charges of espionage. City officials have insisted that the law is in line with international norms and should not concern media outlets, the financial sector, or non-government organizations as long as they engage only in normal activities. However, the implementation of the law and its impact on civil liberties in Hong Kong remains a cause for concern. It's a crisis. Australian winemakers hail axing of Chinese tariffs, but warn it's no quick fix. ABC. Australian wine producers are optimistic about the end of China's duties on Australian wine, which took effect on Friday. Wine Australia CEO Martin Cole said he expected Australian wine exports to China to resume quickly. However, Cole warned that the Chinese wine market is currently a fraction of what it was, with the imported wine market down to about a third of its previous size. Australian wine exports to China were worth 1.2 billion Australian dollars, $895 million, before the duties were imposed, but fell to 2.8 million Australian dollars by January 2024. The flocks of these faiths are expanding as Australians turn their back on the church. The Sydney Morning Herald. Religious communities in Australia are thriving, despite the growing number of Australians with no religious affiliation. Sikhism, Hinduism and Buddhism are among the fastest growing religions in the country, particularly in Melbourne. Sikhs, for example, have grown in number to make up about 0.8% of the Australian population, with over 90,000 Sikhs in Victoria alone. Sikhism is known for its emphasis on selfless service, or seva, which involves acts of charity and compassion. Sikh volunteers have been providing food, counseling and support during the bushfires, flood disasters and the COVID-19 pandemic. Similarly, Hinduism and Buddhism have also seen significant growth, particularly due to migration trends from majority Hindu, Buddhist and Islamic countries. The rise of religious minorities in Australia is partly attributed to the cultural and spiritual connections migrants bring with them. Professor Andrew Singleton explains that religious communities act as a point of connection for new migrants. For example, the Hindu community in Victoria has grown significantly due to increased rates of Indian and Sri Lankan migration. The Sri Shiva Vishnu Temple in Melbourne attracts over 1,000 people each week, and festivals such as Diwali and Ratha Yatra are celebrated across the country. Similarly, Buddhism has seen growth due to migration from various Asian countries, with temples like the Bright Moon Buddhist Society attracting a diverse range of people, including Christians and secular but spiritual individuals. Despite the increasing secularization of Australia, these religions are thriving due to their ability to provide a sense of connection, community, and spirituality. These communities offer support and services to their members and extend their acts of compassion and service to the wider community. The growth of religious minorities in Australia highlights the importance of religious diversity and the positive contributions these communities make to society. Suicide alerts a means to raise awareness in Hong Kong. SCMP opinion. Researchers in Hong Kong are developing a warning system for suicide risk, similar to weather alerts, to help raise public awareness and prevent suicides. The system will monitor daily suicide trends and issue warnings based on risk levels. It will take into account data about suicide attempts on social media and the number of deaths to predict when people are most likely to take their own life. An alert will be triggered if the number of daily suicide cases exceeds 3 standard deviations above the mean, or more than 6 cases a day. The system aims to prompt a greater sense of urgency to prevent the crisis from escalating and must be backed up with a comprehensive support network for those in need of help. Hong Kong should crack down on abuse of $2 concession fare while reviewing costs. SCMP opinion. The Hong Kong government is cracking down on abuses of the fare concession scheme, which offers discounted public transport fares to elderly and disabled residents. The scheme, which allows qualified individuals to ride public transport for $2.26, has seen an increase in abuse, with some individuals misusing the system. The MTR Corporation has fined around 4,260 people for misusing the scheme, while the Transport Department has conducted enforcement actions and inspections to catch those abusing the system. As the use of concessionary fares has increased, so has the cost to the taxpayer for government subsidies, prompting a review of the scheme and potential adjustments to the fare structure. Asia-Pacific's Gulf links on course to expand despite Red Sea troubles. Nikkei Asia. Trade and investment between the Persian Gulf and the Asia-Pacific region are set to continue to grow, despite recent disruptions to cargo connections due to attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. the Gulf states' plans for economic diversification, away from hydrocarbons, will require connectivity to high-growth markets in the Asia-Pacific region. The Asia-Pacific region offers better economic growth potential than the West and accounted for more than 60% of global GDP in 2021. Trade between Gulf states and emerging Asia is projected to reach $578 billion per year by 2030, surpassing trade with advanced economies. Recent trade and investment agreements between the Gulf states and the Asia-Pacific region are expected to accelerate these trends. Gulf sovereign wealth funds have been taking tangible steps to realize cooperation opportunities, with the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority investing in Indonesian ride-hailing and e-commerce group GoTo, and Abu Dhabi's Mubadala Investment becoming an anchor investor in Indian infrastructure investment trust Cube Highways Trust and opening an office in China. China's Country Garden misses results deadline, expects trade suspension. Nikkei Asia. Country Garden Holdings, one of the largest Chinese developers, has missed the deadline for releasing its 2023 annual results, resulting in the suspension of the trading of its Hong Kong-listed shares. Another Chinese developer, China Evergrande Group, has also failed to disclose its annual results, as a number of Hong Kong-listed developers announce lackluster results. The missed deadline highlights the financial difficulties facing some privately run Chinese property developers. China SCE Group Holdings, a Shanghai-based developer, recorded a net loss of 7.99 billion Chinese yuan, $1.2 billion, in 2023, compared to a net profit of 24.54 million Chinese yuan a year earlier. China Aoyuan, another mid-sized developer, saw its net loss grow to 9.53 billion Chinese yuan in 2023 from 7.84 billion Chinese yuan a year ago. Sifi Holdings Group, another distressed developer, announced it had defaulted on an offshore $555 million senior note. The number of distressed private developers facing pressure to present restructuring plans is increasing. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.